Hi everyone, and welcome to your final speech assignment of the semester. I know it's been a long semester and we've been working with a ton of different types of speaking styles, but persuasive speaking is the end-all be-all. In order to be a really persuasive speaker, you have to utilize all of the concepts and tools that we've been discussing all semester long. For example, you're going to want to open your speech with a hard-hitting story, an anecdote, something that kind of frames our mindset. So that's our storytelling or our narration. You can't really persuade people of a problem without informing them that a problem exists and what's causing it. So while the majority of your speaking style in this unit for this speech is going to be argumentative and emotional, you still want to bring in the element of logos or logic to really kind of teach your audience about the things that are going on in relation to the problem that you're speaking about. For this speech, you're going to want to set it up as a problem, cause, solution method. So you'll introduce your problem a little bit in your introduction portion of the speech where you justify your topic's significance and relevance. Why is this a problem? What makes it so problematic? And who does this relate to? But you don't want to give everything away that you're going to talk about in the first main point of your speech. So when you're thinking about your background information, remind us of what's kind of been happening before. And then your main point one is really going to focus on the problem as it is now. So in main point one, you'll talk about the problems relating to your topic. So you're going to really want to define what this means and explain what it looks like. Here is where you're going to bring in all of the effects. So there's this major problem and here's how it's hurting us significantly. So you might want to think about societally, how this hurts society. You might want to think about culturally, how this is impacting culture. Maybe you want to think about like politically, are people losing their rights? Are people getting hate crimed or killed? Is it stopping people from getting rights later? So what is the aftermath? If this problem continues to persist, what does the world look like? And how is that bad? That's main point one. In main point two, you're going to identify, articulate, and explain two major causes. Now, I know that you learned in the logical fallacies that you don't want to give them a this or that, right? That would be bad. And we know that there are probably way more than two overall causes. But as a speaker who's short on time, because you only have about 9 to 10 minutes or 8 to 10 minutes for this speech, you're going to want to shrink this based on your research into two major causes that are creating the problem. Think of your causes like a flower, right? If your problem is the flower coming out of the ground, then your causes are the roots. If you just rip out the flower, the roots are still in the ground, so a new flower or that same problem can grow again. So your causes should really attack what's creating the problem. That leads you to main point three, your solutions. This is that element of the attack. So you learned that your solutions have to be beneficial, desirable, and achievable. So you need to come up with two solutions. I call them a big solution and then a small solution. Something that we personally, you and I, are not going to be able to solve. Maybe this is out of our hands. Something governmentally or a societal shift in mindset needs to change. Something that's going to take more than just one of us, right? And then your second solution is going to be personal. What can we do, members in your audience, after hearing your speech, to try and solve the problem? Maybe that's signing a petition. Maybe that's going out and not rioting, that would be bad, but maybe that's going out and marching. Maybe that's taking a different kind of class that's going to teach us these differences that you're saying that impact society. So what's something big, the they can do, and then what's something small, the us can do. So main point one, what is your problem? Define it, prove to me that it exists, and show me how it's hurting us. Main point two, what are the two causes that are creating the problem to persist? And then main point three, what are your two achievable, beneficial, and desirable solutions that we can solve on a macro and a micro level? Remember that your solutions have to be solvable. So you can't be like, oh, we need to make a new law. That's really, really hard to do. Yes, it's solvable, but that would probably take time. So how can we actually solve or achieve solvability? You want your solutions to be beneficial. If we do this, we as a world or as a nation or as a city, whatever your problem is, will benefit from the solution. And they have to be desirable. We want to do them. I might not want to sign a petition. I might not want to write a letter to my legislators. So you have to give us something that we can do, that we want to do, and will benefit us when we do them. That's really the assignment in a nutshell. You get 5 note cards front and back, just standard size. Remember to show those either at the start or at the end of your speech. I need to see them on the same video when you cut or when you turn the video off and then upload them. I'm unaware if those were the notes that you used during your speech or notes that you created after. So please, even if you email me and you're like, here are my note cards, I'm sorry I forgot to show them, I have to give you a 0 for that because I'm not sure if they were created after. So show them. You might want to write that down on a piece of paper and put it down so you don't forget. Show your note cards either at the start or at the end of your speech. You have to have 5 sources that pass the CRAP test. Remember that they have to be current. Those dates are in our evidence lesson that we discussed. And one of them for this speech needs to come from an academic, scholarly, peer-reviewed article. So that's like a journal of, something that you'd find on Harper's Library database or Google Scholar. Still use Wikipedia, still use New York Times, still use Entertainment Weekly. All of those sources that you used and the types of sources that you used for your informative are absolutely viable. But now you really want to hone in on that purpose of the source. Remember, the goal of your speech is to persuade. So you should be using persuasive evidence, but you need to make sure that the evidence that you're bringing in your speech is unbiased. So if your source or if your speech is about like becoming a vegetarian, you don't really want to cite anything from PETA because they're very, very biased, right? So you want to make sure that those sources still are kind of towards the middle of that media bias map, but it's okay if there's a little bit of emotion present in those sources because your speech should be emotional. That leads me to pathos, which is the last of the 3 rhetorical proofs. In your informative speech, you use logic and credibility, ethos and logos. Now for your persuasive speech, you have to use pathos, which is your pathetic or your emotional arguments. The things that you're saying should make your audience feel something. Don't be afraid to make us laugh. Don't be afraid to tell like a really dramatic story that might make us feel a certain kind of way. Think of those commercials that inspire you to buy the product or convince you to donate money out of your paycheck. You want emotional claims. So if you think back to our narration assignment and we talked about all that literary language and your speech needs to be dripping with imagery, here's a chance for you to bring all that back, right? Funny jokes are going to make us laugh. We're going to remember that speech. Hard-hitting, dramatic information that really makes me feel bad for this group of people is going to be incredibly emotional. It's going to get me to care about them more. So don't just say your things. You have to be your things. Your speech needs to be dripping with personality, with argumentation, and with emotion. So you might have to put on a little actor's face here and get some really, really inspiring language present in your speech. Think of the words that you're using and the emotions that are charged from those words. I believe this speech needs to be 8 to 10 minutes long. You still need to be in a professional setting and you still need an audience of 6. So pay attention to the other requirements and due dates that are listed below, and please feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I hope that I've explained the persuasive speech in enough detail. And if you have more questions, comments, or concerns, don't be afraid to email me or reach out. I'd love to talk to you more about it. Good luck. This is my favorite speech. I think I say that about every speech, but this is, the big snowball speech. It utilizes everything. So show me what you learned all semester. Have fun doing it. And now is the chance for you to finally talk about something that you're super passionate about. So pick something that makes you upset, that makes you lose sleep overnight. Fight for it. Prove to us that this problem exists and show us how together we can inspire change. Good luck.